North Central beats Milliken 59-32, closing out the regular season 9-1. Up next, the playoffs in Wabash awaits. The Cardinals will host them inside Benedetti Worley Stadium. We'll talk about that game, we'll recap the Milliken game, and we'll talk about Megan NIKLAS Day on this week's Cardinal Corner. I'm Kevin Jackman. We got all that and more next on The Red Zone.
The presenting sponsor of The Red Zone is Athletico, the preferred provider of physical therapy and athletic training for North Central College.
Welcome into the Red Zone. Head coach of the football team, Jeff Thorne, on the show. And you finished up the regular season 9-1, a win at Milliken. And my goodness, Ethan Greenfield, it's just kind of a sneak attack because we talk about, Brock Rutter and Andrew Kaminsky so much. Ethan comes in, he produces 250 yards of offense in this game. And he is on the cusp, if he hasn't already claimed them, of all these rushing records in a single season.
Yeah, he's having quite a year. And really the big reason that Brock and Andrew are having the kind of success they are is because teams have to account for Ethan in our running game.
Yeah. And you talk about the big play. You guys always want to try and produce that big play on offense. And Ethan, I think, is probably your lightning in a bottle in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he's, I don't think he gets enough credit for how fast he is. When he gets in the clear, he doesn't get caught.
Yeah.
And that's really the best measure of how fast are you. You can tell me you run a 4.4, but if all of a sudden you're getting caught, you're not that fast.
Yeah.
Ethan doesn't get caught.
Well, we've talked about the lineage of running backs in the last, say 10, 15 years. Nick Kukoc, Ryan Kent, these guys, Jordan Tassio, have put up these ridiculous numbers. And yet to see Ethan Greenfield, his name right next to all these names, it fits because you know what he does, but it also doesn't because he just does it in such a quiet manner.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, you can't leave out Steve Holden and Dom Sulo either.
That's
Those
true,
two
yeah.
were really special in getting this whole thing going. But yeah, he just he quietly goes about his business, and all of a sudden, boom, there he goes on a 50-yard run, and it's a touchdown, or he's out of the backfield catching a ball, making people miss. It's a luxury to have a running back like that because he doesn't have to come off the field. He's also a great blocker. So in pass protection, he's fantastic. He's a multi-dimensional player.
Just some numbers that I put on here. So he is 143 yards away from Nick Kukoc's single season record, which I think Nick had either 12 or 13 games to get that done.
Would have been
2012, I think.
Would have been 12 games.
Yeah. Which is astounding, and he's one touchdown away from Austin Brunig's 18 touchdown year. And there's so much conversation about Andrew Kaminsky's 20 touchdown year this year. Ethan has 19.
I know.
I
know. Yeah, it's a pretty good two-headed monster.
Oh, my goodness. All right. I fawn over these. It's pretty amazing. But we got to move to the defensive side because Dakota Cremines is a guy that we haven't discussed a lot, but he's the heart and soul of that secondary as that kind of quarterback back there. Forced fumble in this game. We'll talk about that and check the tape. But can you kind of stress the importance of what he means to the back half of this defense?
Yeah, Dakota's a heady player. He's an intelligent kid. He's confident, but not he's confident in the right way. He just doesn't get rattled. And as a coach, you just have great confidence that he's going to go out there and he's going to make plays. Because he prepares, he does everything the right way. He's the kind of guy you want in the back half quarterbacking the secondary. And
then the other guy back there is Braden Lindmark. This is another guy that we haven't talked about a lot because he started as a freshman last year at corner, moved to safety. I'm just kind of curious to see, checking in on his progress there.
He's doing a good job. He was at corner still in the Wheaton game, and we had some things that we wanted to move around a little bit defensively, and moving him to safety was a conversation we'd had in the offseason. We decided to leave him at corner. But he's done a really good job at safety. He's had his hands on a lot of balls. He could have 5 or 6 interceptions. So that'll be, the rallying cry in the offseason is, hey, let's finish these. Let's make sure when we get our hands on them, let's finish them. But he's had a really good year.
So then the last thing to get to in this first segment is the game itself. You guys beat Milliken 59-32. This is a team that had a lot of momentum coming off a win against Wash U. Did you find that maybe that carried over for them, a little bit of swagger on the field?
It did. They're a good football team. I mean, they've got some really good athletes. They're well coached, dangerous receivers, tall and fast on top of it with Jordan Smith and their other one, Colton Lockwood, number 11, dynamite player. And then their quarterback's a really good player, good athlete. So we knew it was going to be difficult, but their running game really got going, and that was a little bit unnerving in that we weren't quite ready to play defensively when we got there. So that's kind of what we've been working on this week.
I know that you never want to see that in a game, but it kind of has to be a nice little check right before the playoffs. Like, you can't just kind of cruise in, because
Right.
you've had some games recently where the defense has obviously passed that test pretty consistently.
Yeah.
So was it nice to get that little break check?
You know, it's important for our guys to feel stressed, because it's going to happen. You know, Saturday is not going to be easy. We're going to be stressed. It's a good football team. And if we're fortunate enough to move on, each round gets increasingly more difficult and increasingly more stressful.
Yeah.
So being under that pressure a little bit, not having things go exactly how you plan from the very beginning of the game and all the way through, it's a good thing. You know, Brock had some things, and it wasn't quite in his rhythm.
Yeah.
Their offense was on the field for quite a while, and then we had the short drives, so we didn't run that many plays. And sometimes it's tough to get into a groove, into a rhythm when you're not running a lot of plays.
Interesting. Well, we're going to take a break. Check the Tape is coming up next. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Arena Americas, specialists in providing full-service rental solutions for events and special occasions of all sizes.
Welcome back for Check the Tape. And Coach, first play I want to get to is the very first play of the game. D'Angelo Hardy, this is a guy that we knew is explosive. We've seen it on the offensive side. But boy, he showed that burst on that very first play of the game.
Pretty good way to start a game.
Yeah.
You know, the guys up front, the front line on the kickoff return team did a great job of accounting for people and giving him a seam. And D'Angelo has that breakaway speed, and we saw it, and he ran away from coverage, and 7-0 to start the game. And then our defense is back out there, you know. So
and I'm sure they enjoy that, yeah. Second play I want to get to, and kind of pick your poison with this Ethan Greenfield guy, because he had 3 plays of 50 yards or more in this contest. The explosion, we talked about it in the first segment, but just how much stress it puts on a defense that they could be off the field in one play in a bad way.
Yeah, you know, our offensive line did a terrific job for him on the one of the 50-yarders. Just simple trap play. And our backside tackle came down, watched the backside linebacker. Ethan cut behind it, and then there was just nothing between him and the goalpost.
Yeah.
So he put the hammer down, and nobody caught him.
That offensive line feels just so solid at this point in the year.
Yeah.
Do you feel that same way about that unit?
Yeah, you know, with three all-conference players. We voted yesterday. You've got Sharmore, first team again. Andy was named the Offensive Lineman of the Year for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
2 years of that award, and he's won it. It's a brand new award. I'm thinking they might just name it after him.
No kidding.
But and then Ricky Sturba, first team all-conference again as a returner.
Yep.
Was first team last year as well. So those guys, it's a really strong core of great offensive linemen between those three. And then you add Gerard, who we talked about maybe last week. And our left tackle's kind of been a revolving door this year, and Will Ebert's kind of settled back into that starting role as he did last year.
Yeah.
So kind of solidifying that position too. So we're playing really well up front right now.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to have going forward.
I was just going to say, clicking at the right time, at the right time of year.
Last
play, and we talked again about this guy in the first segment, but Dakota Cremines forcing that fumble, and you guys want to take the football away. Every football team wants to take the football away. But it's a matter of actually going out there and putting the pressure on the offense and doing that, and he did this on that play.
Yeah, great job of coming downhill from his safety position and his run fit, and just put his helmet right on the football, popped it out, and we were able to get on. Ben's who recovered it. I think he got credit for the forced fumble too, but Dakota popped it out.
Yeah.
Ben got on it. Great play.
All right, let's move ahead. Wabash.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a team that you have faced 3 times. I don't think you were around the first 2 meetings. I think they were in 1914 and 1915, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think I was. I wasn't a thought yet.
But you do have some very strong familiarity with them from 2011. What can you remember from, I'm sure you can remember quite a bit from that game, but about the way they play and just kind of the atmosphere of that team?
Tremendous atmosphere. I mean, playing at Wabash was really exciting. It's a great atmosphere to play in. A lot of school spirit there, a lot of support for their program, a lot of tradition. One of the winningest programs in Division III.
Yeah.
But you remember what we gave away. We had a 28-7 lead with 12 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And we lost 29-28. So, you know, 8 years later, there's still a pretty bitter taste in my mouth and anybody associated with that game. I know our alums are feeling that way too. So what I take away from that is how quality the football is that they play. They're a really, really good program. They're going to block. They're going to tackle. They'll scheme us up because they're well coached. So we've got our work cut out for us.
How much do you tell the team about your prior experience with Wabash? Does that factor in at all?
You know, it doesn't factor into how these kids play. They don't know.
Yeah.
But do we tell the story? Do we share that with them? Of course.
Yeah.
They've heard that, and not going to impact how they play.
Yeah.
You know, but let them know this is a really dangerous opponent.
Right.
And last time we had an opportunity and we let it slip away.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure we don't do that again.
Show them the NCTV highlight. It's in standard def. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm going to steer clear of that.
But what does this team present now? Because obviously they made the playoffs. They did so at 7-3. They split the conference championship, but they had the advantage over head-to-head matchups. So obviously it's a rugged, tough team that just got into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're really big up front. They've got 300-plus pounders. Their interior 3 offensive linemen, guard, center, guard.
Yeah.
And then their quarterback's a freshman, but he's dynamic. He's a really talented kid. He's got an incredibly strong arm, athletic as well.
Yeah.
And then a couple players on the outside that are dangerous. But really the running backs they've got 2 running backs that are both dynamite. One's a sprinter for their track program, so we've got to contain him. The other's been beat up and dinged up a little bit, but he's a bigger, more physical runner.
Yeah.
And then defensively, they're very, very solid. Good in the secondary, a couple all-conference players returning. Their linebacking core is active, and then they've got a couple guys up front that have some size and athleticism to them too. So we're in the playoffs now. Every team's going to be very talented.
Should be fun to have them here on campus
this
time around. You get to host them this time.
Yep.
We'll get you out of here on this and your quick hit. What is your favorite drill?
Well, I was a quarterback, so 7-on-7 goes without saying.
Yeah.
But that's not real football. So the real football, I love inside run periods where we can test our guys and work on the physical part of the game that's so important, the blocking, the tackling, because if you don't do those 2, you're not beating anybody.
Yep.
So that would be probably my favorite drill.
Coach, thanks very much, and
Thanks,
good
Coach.
luck in the playoff matchup. Coming up next, we'll have a couple of players joining me on set. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Jimmy John's.
We've seen offense, we've seen defense, but for the first time this year, we've got special teams doing special things for the play of the game. D'Angelo Hardy gets set up beautifully by the return unit, and he takes the opening kickoff against Milliken to the promised land, and that earns him the Red Zone's top spot of the week.
We're back with the Red Zone. Isiah Ziegler, Ethan Greenfield joining me on the show. Guys, you made it through the regular season. There were some tense moments as to whether or not you're going to make the playoffs, but you're in. And I know that's a big sigh of relief. Isiah, how excited are you to get underway and get into the playoffs and get that first game under your belt?
I'm very excited. I think that as a defense and as a team, really, we didn't play our best game last week. And that kind of fires us up because if that was our last game, that wouldn't have ended the way we wanted it to. So now we have another chance to show the country and everyone else how good of a team we are and how far we can make it.
Yeah.
We just got to keep playing as hard as we can and just do what we do.
How about you, Ethan, in the offense? Pretty stoked to get ready to go?
Yeah, for sure. We were just excited to get another opportunity, and that's all we wanted, just a chance. That's what we kind of talked about as a team, and some of us leaders on the offense, we were just like, we just want a shot.
Yep.
And we got it, thankfully, so we're not going to waste it.
I know that, the sole focus now is Wabash, but we can still look at the record book, and I don't know if you're aware of this. You were on the cusp of breaking basically every rushing record this season, which is insane to me because of all the passing records that have fallen. Have you paid any attention to that? Has anybody mentioned any of that stuff to you? Or do you take note of any of it?
Like sometimes, like my dad will say something about it, or
Yeah.
like my grandpa, they sometimes talk to me about it, like on Sunday. But as you said before, the focus is always the team that we're playing, and
Yeah.
the stats really don't matter.
They matter to us. It gives us something to talk about. But it's pretty crazy. I mean, in 10 games, you put up almost 1,500 yards rushing, which is just, and 19 total touchdowns. It's pretty remarkable.
I mean,
Right?
yeah, to a point, but still, like, just as an offense, we just want to be high-powered at all levels, which we were
Yeah.
able to do this year. Just what Brock and Kaminsky have done and what the offensive line have been able to do and everyone else contributing. Like, our offense has just been just so powerful this year, and that's all we can really ask for.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is. Defensively, you guys, I mean, from where you guys were, maybe the midway point of the season to now, and I know you guys didn't have the greatest game against Milliken in your mind, but it just seems like the unit has grown closer and closer. Everybody seems to trust each other. Can you talk about that dynamic on learning how to kind of trust everybody at every level of the defense?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, like you said, on defense is like being able to trust everyone. And I mean, if I trust anybody that's on the defense with me, and if you can trust the person next to you to make that play and worry about your 1/11th and not worry about 3 people's job, then that makes you a better defense because you're only focusing on one thing. And if all people are focusing on what they're supposed to do, then no one can be able to do anything. And that's the biggest thing. Like, you can't sit there and focus on someone else's job. And to be able to trust each other and know each other and being able to grow closer with each other grows that. And then being able to trust them just makes it even easier to do.
What I find really interesting in a year where the offense is breaking all these records, individuals are breaking records, there's team records falling, the defense doesn't have the one guy, you know, like these are names that you guys may not know, Matt Wenger, Joey Michaels, Nick Slezak, gaudy numbers, but you guys are doing it as a unit, which is really, I think, more fun, wouldn't it be?
Yeah. The biggest, like, for us, we don't have one of those people, which is okay because of the fact that our team is more of a team defense. Like, we don't have individual stats that are, like, out the wham or whatever. We just have a lot of, individuals all have around the same stats. And that shows because we're all worrying about our one job. And people are going to run different places or throw different places, and that just shows that we're great unit together, not individuals.
I almost find like it would be harder for an offense to look at you guys and say, well, we got to make sure we scheme for so-and-so. Because now all of a sudden guys are coming from all different angles. So offensively, Andrew Kaminsky has 20 touchdowns this year. Added 2 more in this game against Milliken. We've talked at length. We've talked to everybody about the stats that Kaminsky's putting up, Rudder's putting up. Can you kind of put into words what it's like to share the field with these 2 guys and the chemistry that they seem to have? Is it a bromance?
It's pretty something special to kind of experience just the connection they two. They're always on the same page. They're always kind of feeding off each other, and they're like a lot of the same person, like personality-wise. So like they just really go hand in hand, and they've been able to do it for the last couple of years, and they're really showing how great the relationship has been and how strong that bond is and how great of football players they both are.
You guys have your work cut out for you this week, especially on the defensive end. We were talking before we hopped on set. This Wabash team is pretty big up front, aren't they?
Yes. They have one of their offensive linemen is like 370 pounds, so we're gonna have our work cut out for us up front. We just got to play insanely physical and stop the run because they're a run-heavy team. So we just have to stop the run, and going off of last week gives us a great opportunity to show the country how good of a run defense we are.
For you guys, obviously they have a playoff caliber defense. I mean, they're in the playoffs, and now you guys are going week to week, and you're going to be facing better and better teams the further you go. Is that some sort of challenge that you're ready to embark on?
Yeah, of course. As a team, we're ready to do it. We just been dedicating ourselves on communication and technique, like up front. Those are 2 big things that we've kind of gotten to the end of the year that we need to be more sound on. And every week, we just got to keep getting better every day. As we were kind of talking about it at practice, how we need to see improvements in all those aspects, which we're doing. So we're putting ourselves on the right path.
Every time I talk to you, and any running back for that matter, you guys always credit the offensive line. They got rewarded with 3 all-conference selections. How proud were you of them that they were able to pull those down?
I'm really happy for them because it's deserved. I congratulate everyone. I told them it's well-deserved because they really do all the work. Like, I can never stress that enough, how much all 5 up front and like Egan and Rose do, and the wide receivers out blocking. Like, our whole offense just moves collectively as a unit, and all of us working together is what caused like all the success. It's not just 1 or 2 people. Like, as much as like all the stats from Rudder and Kaminsky, how big and how much those get highlighted, I can never stress enough how much the whole team aspect of our offense is the reason why we're this successful.
You guys ready for the quick hits?
Yes.
I know you guys have been prepped. Here we go. I'm really looking forward to some of these answers. Ethan, we'll start with you. If you had a movie about your life, who's playing the lead role?
The lead role would have to be Bill Hader. I love Bill Hader. I think he's funny, and he might be he's a lot taller than me, but still, I'd probably want him to play me.
What's your favorite thing that he's in?
Honestly,
there's a lot.
There is a lot. Either like Hot Rod.
Wow, that's a deep cut. That's old.
I love Hot Rod. That's one of my favorite movies. Hot Rod or It too, honestly. I love them in It too.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, a little bit of the horror genre.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Isiah, how about you?
I've been told by my teammates that without a beard, I look like Robbie Weirdick from Central Intelligence. So I guess The Rock then.
Vintage Rock.
Vintage Rock, yes.
That's a compliment, though. The Rock he's the man.
Yeah, he's the man now.
He's the dude.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And you know what? He's probably the strongest human alive at this point.
Just
It's
about,
a compliment.
yeah.
It's a compliment. All right, Isiah, we'll start with you. Favorite drill?
I'd probably have to say Oklahoma drill when there's 3 offensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen, a running back, and a linebacker.
Why is that?
It's just fun. It's like mano-a-mano, and we just get to see who's really wants to play, and it's a super physical drill. It's super fun. We always do it like right at the beginning of camp, so it's like our first hitting we do too, so it hypes us all up. It's super fun.
Because you guys kind of get in a circle and
everybody lines up around, and then if you lose, you're just like everybody's in your face. It's really intense and super competitive, so I love it.
Yeah. Ethan, how about you?
I have to be the same. Just like that.
Really?
Because that drill, it's just, especially at that point, because we do it early in the camp, so like everyone's kind of rusty on technique and form, but it's all about really your heart and your will about who wants to win. I think that's really cool, and it's in just the atmosphere that surrounds that. It just like kind of epitomizes what camp is about, and I think that's awesome.
All right, third one. Ethan, we'll start with you. One of your teammates has a stand-up comedy act. Who is it?
Probably George Western.
And I think you agree.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little beforehand. George is always on, always making jokes, always trying to make people laugh, and there's no off button, no matter when it is. But I swear, sometimes I'm in the locker room and I hear him on the other side of the locker room, like by himself making jokes. I swear, it's funny.
Do you guys have a fun story?
So recently, it was probably a long time ago when he made the video, but it's like an Old Town Road video, and it was like a bunch of different cut scenes of him doing like the dance, and then like at one point he took his hat off and was like talking to the camera, and then like his foot was on like a railing in a roof, so it was just like, it just literally embodied him in one video. It was so funny.
That's awesome. Guys, best of luck against Wabash. I can't wait for this game. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week after a win.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Coming up next, we'll go to the Cardinal Corner. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is sponsored by Belgio's Catering.
I am very excited, but I am a little nervous.
A staple of women's basketball games inside Gregory Arena for the last 15 years, on this night, it's Megan NIKLAS Day, as the Cardinals honor their longtime manager.
Even if we're having a bad day, she always brings us up, and she always brings a positive spirit to practice and to games.
NIKLAS started her career at her alma mater, Naperville Central. There, she was the team manager for one of the most prominent basketball players in the world, Candace Parker.
Her claim to fame is she was Candace Parker's manager, so she tells everybody that, and that's a fun fact for her.
Never in my life to be managed such a really great person.
And there is the possibility that Parker is where she is now, in part because of Megan's inspirational sayings, the same ones she now shares with the Cardinals.
She's so funny. She wants us to run like 20 sprints each practice. She wants us to run 20 sprints before a game, like just tire us out. I love in games when she says box out, we should every time.
She likes to let them know they need to run sprints all the time. She says they need to run about 25 sprints a day. She definitely texts me a lot to tell me that and make sure the girls are working hard. And
I just like them to play really hard out there.
With cutouts in the stands, a ceremony before the game, and the presence of her family, the night was a highlight in a career full of them for NIKLAS.
I can't really believe it, but I guess this is it, and I just can't believe that it's right here, and I just love it.
Welcome back, and to close out the show, as always, Clark Tusher, Sports Information Director. And Clark, a very busy time of the year, and really exciting time of the year as well. Let's start with men's and women's cross country, because the men are going for, a fourth straight national title, I think?
Fourth straight, 20th overall. Kind of interesting. They wound up actually second in the national rankings this week following what looked like a pretty dominant victory in a stacked regional. So, there's if in case they ever needed any extra motivation, there you go. Number one all season long. You roll through to an easy victory, and you're number two heading into national championships behind a team that you haven't run against all year. So So there's that to contend with, as if there wasn't enough going on surrounding that team. So I don't think really that's much of a topic of discussion among the coaching staff. It's more making sure that they don't screw anything up between this now and getting down to Kentucky to get on the start line for the race. That's pretty much the focus right now. But yeah, there's a lot of anticipation around that, and a lot of people here are going to have their eyes on it.
I'm sure. I mean, anytime you could add another number to that championship board, that'd be pretty cool. Diane Barajas is going down, and I'm sure the women's team is extremely excited and trying to rally behind her.
Yeah, it's always good to be able to have the team represented in some way there. This is the second straight year that they're going to have an individual in the meet. Would like to be competing as a team, but certainly very excited for her to have the opportunity to race against the best athletes in the country and see what she can do.
And then I don't think we talked about this last week, but the triathlon team pulled down yet another national title, and Jenny Garrison just keeps pushing them.
Yeah, they went down to Tempe, Arizona, and finished 1, 3, and 6 in the individual standings. So a national champion in Madeline Scott, which for her first season out, it's just really remarkable that she was able to make that happen, and really did it the way that she's been doing it all year, coming on strong in the running portion of the race when everybody else is pretty worn out. But yeah, 3 in a row to win that, and by a convincing margin each and every time. We had a member of my staff on site at the meet, and somebody who was unfamiliar with the college, but certainly familiar with what they've been doing, in triathlon, and asked him, are you guys a dynasty in triathlon? And he was like, well, I don't know if the sport's been around long enough to have dynasties.
No kidding.
But to be asked questions like that, I mean, it's we don't hate hearing that when it comes to talking about that program, because certainly they're on their way.
Finally, to the women's basketball team, and this is a very young team, but they've shown flashes of a lot of potential, especially with some of the guard play.
Yeah, there's a mix of youth and experience there. There's a lot of players that the core of the varsity rotation is composed of players that were here last year.
Yeah.
But there's still some defining of roles and some figuring out in terms of how you're going to group those players on the court, how you're going to rotate in and out. That's still kind of happening right now. They've been in all 3 games that they've played. The one they had here last weekend, they had about a 2-minute dry spell late in the contest that wound up costing them the game. So trying to figure out which players are going to work the best together in those kind of pressure situations is something they're still working on right now. They'll get a couple of chances to do that again here at home this week to see if they can get on the right side of the 500 mark.
All right, quick hit time, and I'm looking forward to this answer. You are starring in your own movie, but who is playing you?
Well, nobody would be more surprised than me if there was a movie made about my life, but I think the direction I'd like to go in is Ewan McGregor.
Ooh.
He's kind of the one that my wife has that's kind of her celebrity crush.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to have somebody play me, then it might be that might be the direction I go in as far as that's concerned. So
the young version of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's not quite as young anymore. So maybe that's one of the reasons it works for me. At this point in my life.
You're still young and hip.
We'll see. But he's also a much better singer than I am. So
really?
So we'll have to. He's been in a lot of those. So
one of these days, I think we'll have to have a quick hit that involves singing.
You're going to be waiting a while there, Kevin.
Clark, thanks for stopping by, and hopefully we see you next week.
All right, thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Red Zone. Wabash comes to town on Saturday. Noon kickoff. Our pregame begins at 11:45. I'm Kevin Jackman. We'll see you next week on the Red Zone.